Welcome back to the Foul Line. I'm your host, Connor Black. Here with me today, I have my co-host as usual, Wyatt Olson. What's up, Wyatt?
What's up?
And familiar face on the show, Wyatt Hole.
Howdy.
And it's been a while since we've done this. We're back, new setup, new location, just new everything basically. And I think we're all pretty excited to get into this.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What y'all think about this new in-season tournament that's coming up?
I think it'll have a lot of positives. I think it'll make teams actually care more about the regular season now. Because previously I've heard from so many people regular season records don't matter. That doesn't matter anything for the playoffs. But I disagree, and I think this is going to prove that.
I think it also goes hand in hand with the new 65 game minimum because Tuesday and Thursday nights being the tournament nights of the in-season tournament, I feel like those nights are going to matter more to the guys who are trying to win and ultimately get to that cash prize at the end.
I think like I said, we talk about the big parts of more incentives in the tournament for the cash prize and the 65 game minimums for awards and like all NBA teams, MVPs, DPOY, all that stuff. It's like I said, it's going to be bring more incentive in a different competition aspect. And like when reading the rules and everything and learning when they announce the tournament, it's how it's set up, kind of like a hybrid of a soccer tournament and an AAU tournament with pool play and things like that. It's gonna be really cool with all the different tiebreakers that if they need them. Like it's gonna be throw a lot of different variables and just a new energy slash vibe to the league, and I think it'll be a cool aspect. I think it'll be a cool first year for it to see how it goes.
I mean, yeah, I mean the in-season tournament. I don't think anybody was really a fan at first. I think a lot of people were confused, kind of what it was going to mean, how it was going to work, everything like that. And then the groups came out, so you got the group West A, West B, West C, East A, East B, East C. And I still think people were confused when it came to that concept. But in the end, if you look at it, each team in that group is going to play each other once.
Yeah,
So if you go, let's take the OKC group, for example. If OKC goes 4-0, they're going to move on to tournament play. And then so on to the other groups. So, I mean, you look at these groups here, who do y'all think is going to move on from these groups?
well, I think it's we still. I mean, not knowing what's gonna happen, maybe with James Harden and Damian Lillard, if any blockbuster trades happen right before the season starts. But I think maybe from the West, like we're talking about like individual winners of groups.
Yeah.
I think right now I would pick the I'd probably pick the Lakers, the Nuggets, and the Kings. Is why I pick the three West groups, and I'd probably pick the I would probably pick the Cavs because with all the uncertainty of the Sixers and they're in the same group, I would take the Cavs, the Bucks, and probably the Celtics out of the C group.
I mean, yeah, all really good regular season teams. I mean, the Warriors probably play the best out of anybody in the regular season in the West. I mean, besides the Nuggets were like you said the other night, the Nuggets were one of the only teams who didn't struggle and fall during the regular season in the West. I mean, the Grizzlies, they stayed pretty much top three the whole season as well. But, with John Morant being out for the first 30 games of the season, he's basically going to miss this whole, that would make him miss this whole in-season tournament, I believe.
I think so. I think you probably miss a major portion of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then, I mean, what do you think? What do you when you see the West groups? I mean, that West B group with the Nuggets, Clippers, Pelicans, Mavericks, and Rockets. That's a really competitive group. I mean, at one point, two of those teams were a one seed. I mean, the Pelicans were a one seed last year. I mean, and the Nuggets obviously pushed them out after Zion got hurt. But I mean, those are good, really good competitive teams.
My opinion is different from Wyatt's. I like on who I think is going to come out of these on top. Like in West A, I think the Suns are winning it, no doubt. I don't think the Lakers. Yeah, they surprised a lot of us in the playoffs last year, but I think if Kevin Durant can stay healthy, but that is a big if. I think the Suns will make it out of that. Uh, I think the Thunder is going to surprise a lot of people this year. I think they're going to be not in the plan. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're not even going to be low enough in the rankings to be in the plan. And West B, I think no, I honestly don't think anyone's competing with the Nuggets. Yeah, Mavericks have Kyrie and Luca. The Rockets made some pretty good signs in this offseason. But the Pelicans, I mean, you got Zion, who is known for not being able to stay healthy, and for the Clippers, I mean, Kawhi's coming off of what was it, torn meniscus?
Yeah, and he's not. There's a chance he may not even be there for any of this because they said mid-season maybe his return because he's still recovering.
Yeah. And then in the Eastern, as of right now, with James Harden still in the Sixers, I think with all the drama going there, I think that they don't have a chance. I think, like it was shown in the playoffs last season that Embiid, like, and the Sixers, when it matters, they don't show up. The Celtics came back and won 2 straight, and Jason Tatum dropped 50 points on them to send them to the Eastern Conference Finals.
That's also how you gotta look at this though. Is this is not the playoffs? I mean, yes, it's like the ending point is like a playoff, but teams like the Sixers who underperform in the playoffs do really well in the regular season. Same with that's why Milwaukee I think is a great choice because they have been the 1 seed for the past couple of years, couple seasons. If they're not the 1 seed, they're the 2 seed. I mean, Giannis just turns into a different animal when he's in the regular season. I think he's gunning for that MVP and that top spot every season. And then also he has that vendetta coming back this season after getting hurt in the first round and losing to Miami. And then teams like the Celtics are a really good regular season team. I mean, they always are, no doubt. But I mean, come playoffs, they're always good. I just think teams like maybe some lower ranked teams usually may surprise some people because you're not playing every single team in your conference to decide where you're going. You're playing 4 other teams. So maybe the Magic could pick up a win against the Bulls and the Raptors, and look at that, they're going to be 2-2. I mean, you just never know.
Yeah.
One thing I will say, a team that I think is gonna surprise some people. I'm not saying they're gonna be great by any means, but I think a team that's gonna surprise people is gonna be the Hornets. They just got Brandon Miller, who I think is gonna be top 2 contention for rookie of the year. I think Brandon Miller is gonna be he's gonna surprise a lot of people because most people are gonna be looking at Scoot, Wemby, and the Thompson twins mainly. I know both of you have seen it, but the Hornets fan base was, and they were just not happy about the pick of Brandon Miller. But I think it's actually really good for them. It's the guy they come in, they bring back Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges
Miles Bridges.
Yeah, Miles Bridges. I'm going to talk about Mikal Bridges here in a second, but Miles Bridges is going to be, in my opinion, a perfect guy to teach Brandon Miller how to play on that Hornets team. Because, I mean, he showed how important it is to have a good big man like him. Another team I think that's going to surprise people is going to be the Nets. They traded away those superstars we got. They have a really solid. It reminds me of a bunch of like that Nets team with D'Lo, a bunch of solid role players just going out there to play ball. I think they're going to surprise people this year.
I think the East is a lock. Like I really don't think there's anybody that's going to take down the Bucks or the Celtics. I mean, yeah, Miami did take down those teams in the playoffs, but the Heat really aren't a great regular season team.
No,
they haven't been since they were the 1 seed.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Jimmy, yeah, he'll average like 22 points a game in the regular season, but come playoff time, like that's when he knows it matters. I think they just do enough to get to the playoffs, and then boom, from there, let's get into it.
It's almost like some guys like especially Jimmy. I think you can make the same argument for like Jamal Murray. They kind of pace themselves throughout the regular season, but when they playoff starts, they're able to flip the switch, go into that next level. And now we've seen Jamal Murray come back after an ACL tear, had a decent regular season, still playing sparse games because of rehab and stuff. And as soon as the playoffs hit, was on fire all 4 rounds and just roasted everybody with Jokic. And the same thing with Jimmy. Jimmy's first round against the Bucks was historically great. Like sometimes like we've never. It was so rare we haven't seen something like that in a while.
51 points.
Right. It's like Jimmy is just they just know how to flip the switch and turn on that killer attitude when they need to.
But you also have to think that Miami did get rid of some of their key role players that took them that far.
I mean, you can say that. Like, yes, Gabe Vincent's gone, Max Strus is gone, but you bring back Kevin Love.
Yeah.
You signed Thomas Bryant, great pickup for them, I think. And Tyler Herro was only healthy for 1 game that series.
Yeah.
He was out for the rest of the playoffs. I mean, and they still make it to the finals. And he's a 20-plus point per game scorer throughout the regular season. So you bring him back in, and if they make the Dame trade, then great. I mean, if they make the Dame trade, I think you can also add them in as a lock to make it. But outside the Celtics and the Bucks right now, I just can't pick a certain, besides them out of the East. I do think the Hawks are going to surprise some people. I think Trae Young's going to come back with a vendetta this season as well. A lot of people are saying he's overrated, this guy right here included. So that's a different topic for discussion. But he's still a 28 point per game scorer that can go out there and make a difference for a team.
And average 11 assists the entire season if he wants.
Yeah, and we also talked about the Pacers.
Mm-hmm.
They just added Obi Toppin.
Mm-hmm.
They added
Bruce Brown.
And you also drafted Jarace Walker.
Jarace Walker, yep.
I mean, 3 great guys for that young Pacers team.
Yep.
Great defender with Obi and Jarace. Jarace is a really good defender.
Uh-huh.
I mean, and Bruce Brown, he can do everything.
Yeah.
He can do everything you need a good 6-man guy to do.
Bruce has become one of my favorite players because Bruce, like in his first few years in the G League, was really raw, just kind of an athlete, but got exposed to guys like Kevin Durant and Kyrie and Harden, seeing how they play and taking that next step and learning from those guys. Now Bruce can get you 20, 25 any night you need him to.
He was a key part in the Nuggets winning that finals.
Oh, no question.
I think without Bruce Brown, I think, obviously they swept the Lakers, but I think without Bruce Brown, Lakers get a few games in that series to make it more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you go back to the West, that West B group, I just keep thinking about that. Like, the Clippers win healthy. Bones didn't have a great season last year when he transferred from the Nuggets to the Clippers. On the Nuggets, I think he was like a 12 points per game scorer, somewhere around there.
Just efficiency wasn't what it was.
And his defense isn't that great, but I think, Terrence Mann's going to have a really good year this year. I mean, he always does. I've loved that guy since they went head-to-head with the Jazz in the playoffs and the year before the bubble.
The year after the bubble.
Year after the bubble. I mean, that was vintage Paul George basketball in that series.
Yes.
I mean, if they have Kawhi, I truly believe they probably go to the finals that year over the Suns.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, same thing with last season. Kawhi and Russ got them game 1, and then game 2 was still interesting, and then they lost, but that series did they win game?
They won game 1, but Russ was like 3 for 18, but he had the clutch big block on Booker. They won that game.
I don't think the series go to 6 or 5?
It was 6, I believe. Yeah, it was 6.
I think Russ might have stolen one.
They got the first one.
I know, but I'm saying after Kawhi went out. It was 5. It was 5. They lost in 5. That's what I thought.
But I mean, look at the scores
without
Kawhi.
Yeah, so without Kawhi, with just Russ and Norman Powell and all those other guys, they're losing from anywhere from 10 or from 12 to 5. I mean, those guys could definitely, even with just Kawhi, I think Kawhi and Russ and those other guys, they're definitely going to make damage. Obviously.
Yeah. How much did Kawhi have in that first game that they did win?
30.
It was like mid-30s.
It was 36 or something
like that. Mid-30s, yeah.
And then Russ had the game where he dropped like 39 or 42 or whatever it was, and then Norman Powell dropped like 40-something.
Yes.
And you have to also think about Paul George in that scenario too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This year, obviously, Kawhi is going to miss probably the first half of the season, so we don't even know if he's going to be in this. But still, even the Pelicans team with a healthy Zion, we all know what a healthy Zion can do. He's a 30-point per game scorer on some of the best efficiency we've seen in the league. I mean, there's people who say Zion's the best player in the league when healthy. I mean, and they have reason to believe that because, I mean, he's proved that.
Mm-hmm.
He just has to prove that he can stay healthy. I think that Pelicans team in a couple of years with a healthy Zion can go a long way.
Yep. I really want people to understand. I think maybe the biggest dark horse in the whole Western Conference is the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz has started out of the gates last year as one of the top 3 seeds in the Western Conference for the first 2 months of the year before they kind of mellowed out. But with the absolutely monumental leap that Lauri Markkanen took and having even winning the one of the worst trades in NBA history, being on the winning side of that when they traded Rudy Gobert and getting all these great role guys back and having Walker Kessler already being what he is, being one of the best defensive big men in the league, and they just traded for John Collins from the Atlanta Hawks for a second round pick who hasn't had who's had two really mediocre to below average 2 years in the past. You take a low risk, all reward move on John Collins, and it might work for them, and that can just make them that much better. And having the leadership of now that Laurie's taking that big leadership step, and guys like Ochai Abaji and like they are set up and they've already got a path to the future, and I think they can hang with anybody in the league right now on any given night.
Yeah, and the Jazz really did come out last year and surprised a bunch of people. I think they started the season at 11-2,
Yeah,
and they were the one seed for maybe like two weeks, something like that, 3 weeks, and then obviously reality set in.
yeah.
But that West A group, I think I just don't see anybody beating that Suns team, more than once. Especially the Blazers. Dame being there or not, that Suns team I think is just too overstacked, too overpowered to just not make it out of that group.
Especially with the new addition of Bradley Beal.
Yeah, Bradley Beal, and they picked up. I mean, everybody said they need depth. They need depth. You add Eric Gordon, you add Yuta Watanabe, you add just a bunch of guys that can get you anywhere from 10 to 12 points a game off the bench. It's just I think they're gonna.
So let me ask you this: if you watch the NBA the last 3 years roughly, you would know that DeAndre Ayton has all the physical tools and the potential to have already been the best big man in the league, but at times he just doesn't play like it. If you think the Suns would have traded DeAndre Ayton for another big or just other young role guys, you think that would change your opinion any different without DeAndre Ayton?
Um, you know, in the past, I was never a DeAndre Ayton fan. He just never had that fight in him. He doesn't really seem like he wants to be out there a lot of the times. But I was in favor of them trading him because at the time they had no. I mean, they still really don't have a starting point guard. Obviously, Bradley Beal can play the one, him or Devin
Right.
Booker both. But I mean, you could have traded DeAndre Ayton and got probably you probably could have got a one for pretty much almost any team in the league.
Oh, no question.
And then you could also get maybe one good bench player or a good pick because the Suns have no picks right now. After this draft, I'm pretty sure they're pickless for a long
They
time.
have no picks, and they got rid of a couple like two swaps back when they traded Cam Payne, but most of the first round pick swaps were all gone when they traded for Kevin Durant.
See, I thought they probably should have kept Cam Payne on, not to start a point guard, but just so you have somebody to come off the bench and facilitate that bench group.
Yes.
Because who's going to do that?
I don't even know that they have a legitimate backup point guard.
Because Josh Okogie's going to start, and he's not even a point guard.
Right. I was in big favor. I was hoping the Suns would have picked up Reggie Jackson for a vet minimum, but the Nuggets ended up re-signing Reggie Jackson. I think that would have been a perfect fit because he could have started or come off the bench. But now that's a kind of a question I have with the Suns is can the depth hold up enough when somebody like Kevin Durant doesn't play, or if Brad Beal doesn't play, or if three out of the four big stars, not naming DeAndre Ayton, between Booker, Beal, and Durant, can some of those guys step up and carry the load on a given night? Maybe once or twice, but in a 7-game playoff series, I still have questions about that. That is still my one holdup with the Suns.
And the in-season tournament is also going to have its own. It kind of reminds me of a shrunken bubble. They're going to have their own MVP. They're going to have an all-tournament team.
All-tournament teams.
I don't know if it's going to be set up like the All-NBA team, like first, second, third from each. I just don't know how it's going to work. I imagine that's how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
But then again, I could just see them doing. Let's just do one all-tournament team, maybe like 8 to 10 guys.
Right.
But in the end, I think the two teams that I think if we had to pick, let's say each pick two teams, two from the East, two from the West to come out. I'm taking from the West. I'm going to take the Nuggets, and I'm going to take the Suns. And then my East teams are going to be the Bucks and Celtics. So, what are y'all thoughts on that?
Yeah, Nuggets and Suns, I think that's a given to come out of the West. You might see an upset of, John Morant's not going to be there, so I think the Grizzlies, I think they're out of contention, honestly, for the anything in the West. Like I said, I think the Thunder are going to surprise some people. I think if they play the perfect amount of basketball, which we've seen them do.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
that stretch towards the end of last season was not the best for them, but coming into that stretch, they were a really good. I mean, they were one game away from being a top 5 team in the West. I mean, that's how close the West was last year. And the Thunder almost closed the gap, but I think now they've added, Kason and Chet that I think they can close that gap.
I mean, I'm talking about we've seen the Thunder play such good basketball that they can blow out the top teams, including my Celtics last year. They won by what, 20 something points?
Oh, it was more than that.
30.
I mean, yeah, because they scored 150 on them. So
Yeah, and then I think the Celtics ended with 117, so it was like
yeah,
33 points. We've seen them play that high level of basketball, and I can see them pulling off and getting a game. I can see them getting a game from anybody in the West, honestly, especially with the new role players that they got from the draft. Like one guy who I think most people are overlooking, Keontae Johnson.
yeah. I just don't know if he's going to get those minutes this year because the Thunder. I mean, they have what is it like 21 guys on the roster right now, anyways, and they have to cut that down to 15. So just bringing Keontae in, I don't know if in the right now he's going to be able to take those roles. But who is your 2 teams? Are you picking the Suns and Nuggets to come out of the West? If I mean, obviously only one team can come out, but
Um, I honestly don't know if I could pick between the three because the Thunder also has Chet coming back, and looks like he's made a lot. But yeah, I think the Nuggets and the Suns, because we haven't seen Chet play or uh, any of the other new Thunder guys play for that team. So I would have to say Nuggets and Suns out of the West and out of the East. Um, I'm I'm gonna go with the Celtics for sure and the Bucks because I think Giannis, especially after losing in Game 1 to an 8 seed, I think that hit him deep and getting everyone telling him you guys failed this season. You didn't do what you were supposed to do. You did not get the job done. I think he's going to come back with a killer instinct that we have not seen from him yet before. I think this is going to be his highest level of basketball.
well, I mean, we did see that killer instinct from him in the 2021 season when he, took the Bucks to the finals and won. I mean, I think we can get that version of Giannis again. Why? What are you thinking? What are
I
your
think
teams that you're thinking out?
right now, out of the West, I'm not trying to be the homer or the biased. I'm not being biased, but I really think the Lakers, with what they were able to turn around and accomplish last year, and having more, I guess, more flexibility and better role guys, and especially they were so bad last year at the beginning of the year that they didn't even think they were going to have a first round draft pick this year with protections and stuff with the Pelicans. And they have 2 really good young rookies with Jalen Hood, Shafino, and Maxwell Pierce. Like I think those 2 guys are going to be big role guys for the Lakers this year. Adding Jackson Hayes, giving Cam Reddish a fresh new start, maybe on a team that can finally have a coach that gives him a chance. I think the Lakers will be one of those teams. And if I'm honest, I know the Nuggets, they lost 2 of their really good role guys. I think the Nuggets will be the second team. I think the Kings would be on that 2 to 3 level, but I think I would definitely have more faith in the Nuggets. And then out of the East, I I mean it's hard to argue against the Bucks. They've just been so dominant over the last 3 to 4 years, and bringing Brooke Lopez back, bringing the whole crew back, and having Chris Middleton healthy, and finally maybe a whole year after his wrist surgery and knee problems. I think the Bucks are a lock out of the East. They're just so versatile. Um, I like the Celtics. Tatum is obviously top 5 to 7 player in the league. I think the Nets have a chance to run some people because they've just played so well together under Jacques Vaughn. I think Ben Simmons is going to have a rebound year and be solid this year. But I would take the Bucks, and I would probably just stay with the Celtics too as my prediction out of the East.
I mean, yeah, you can't go wrong with the 2 teams that just prove their worth over and over again in the regular season. That's what people have to just keep remembering about this is that it's all regular season games. Tuesday and Thursday nights, starting November 3rd, are going to be tournament nights, I just don't see those teams just failing to be good in the regular season because they haven't done that in the past. So now MVP wise, I think that could go based off how they judge it because obviously it could just go to the best player on the winning team.
Right.
But because it's going to be based off every round, so the group, knockout, everything. So I think to win MVP, you'd probably have to be able to move on to that knockout.
Yeah, I believe so. You got to be able to carry the load and be the guy in that tournament.
So I think back to the bubble. I think about Dame. I mean, 40 points almost every night when those 8 games they played to get to that playoff spot. So, I mean, if he could do something like that again and somehow will his way out of that West A group, if he's still on the Blazers, then, I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't get it because he won that bubble MVP based solely off that.
Right.
But then you got to look at the teams. I mean, Jokic.
Jokic is Jokic, and we've come to expect that.
Luka is Luka.
Yeah.
I mean,
for all we know, Kyrie could come out average 35 a game because we've seen Kyrie do that, and Kyrie could just be the best player in the league this year for all we care.
I mean, Steph, he's a really good regular season player.
Right.
Warriors I've always been a really good regular season team. I would not be surprised if Steph Curry came out and won the MVP of this just because
he's Steph.
When is he? He can play MVP caliber basketball every year.
Oh yeah.
And from the East, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, I think there's not going to be one guy on that team that just takes the load. I think that's actually the Celtics' biggest problem is just they don't have that one guy that's going to take over and take the load. I think it switches too many times between Jaylen and Jason. With 2 stars, that's why people like having 2 stars so it can switch. But I think that one of them has to decide. I'm the captain. I'm taking over. I'm taking the reins. You're a second option. Let's get into it. And then the Bucks, obviously, Giannis is the solidified first option. I mean, my pick for the MVP is going to be either Giannis. If I had to pick a guy from each conference, I'm going to go Giannis or I'm going to go Jokic. I mean, what do you think about that? I know you're going to be biased, but
yeah, I'm going to be biased.
But try your best to stay out of your bias.
I do think Jokic is going to be the front runner for that. But what I'm hoping to see from Jason Tatum this season, after the heartbreaking loss that we suffered in Game 7, after coming all the way back from down 3-0, I mean, obviously Tatum got hurt not even 3 minutes into that first quarter. I think that was a pivotal, our momentum just went straight down. Obviously, Jaylen Brown had so many turnovers. And I think that is why Jason Tatum needs to step up and be like, I am the guy. I need to be taking the shots because without me, we lose big games like that. Because Jaylen Brown proved that he cannot step up and be that guy. Derek White, we all know he can't be that guy. He's a solid role playing point guard ever since we got rid of Smart, which I think was a good trade. That's a sad one. I think an underappreciated pick for the MVP. I know I've been talking a lot about the Thunder, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Oh yeah, see, he's obviously probably in my top 4 picks to win the MVP out of this, but it's just hard for me that the Thunder, talent-wise, yes, I think they're going to surprise a lot of people, but going as far in this tournament as a team like the Nuggets, I think the Thunder are going to shake some things up, obviously, but it's hard for me to put anybody in the West over Jokic right now to win the MVP award because he does everything that an MVP is supposed to do.
Especially with, like we said, getting rid of Bruce Brown. That's going to be a big thing for the Nuggets, and I think Jokic, it doesn't even look like he's trying out there. He naturally looks like he can just go out there and get whatever he wants and do whatever he wants, which is why I think he is going to be the obvious front runner for the West.
So is Jason Tatum your pick from the East?
I don't know. Like I said, he needs to come out and show that he's killer instinct. But he's also had since 2017, hell, maybe even 2019, I'd say, to go ahead and take over. But he hasn't yet, so I'm going to go with Giannis.
What you thinking over there?
So I would probably.
You got to be real biased. You gonna pick Bron?
No, I'm gonna pick Giannis in the East
Obviously, I mean, I don't.
It's
I mean,
hard not to.
I mean, you see Joel Embiid. I know you like him, and I know you
Right.
were pushing for him to win MVP this year, and he did. Props to him. But Jokic just proved time and time again that
Jokic
he
is
should
the
have won it.
better. Yeah, Jokic probably should have won MVP
Voters
last year.
fatigue is a real thing, people, and it should not be a thing.
It unfortunately it is. I think I'm not trying to keep all the bias I can out of it. I legitimately think Braun can win it because Braun, in 38 years old, year 20 last year, averaged over 28 points a game, had one of his better defensive seasons in the last 10 years. At 38 years old, blocking shots, chase downs, um, was probably one of the best rebounding seasons of his career. Weirdly, in year 20. Um, if Ja Morant wasn't suspended, I would put Ja in that tier. Um, I think because the Kings are my second, third level team, I gotta mention De'Aaron Fox. I think De'Aaron could pop off and take that next big step. But I would still, the safe pick is to take Jokic out of the West.
Luka's obviously going to be up there. I mean,
for sure.
It's just hard for me to be like that Mavericks team can come. I mean, they could come out of that group. They could be a wild card team because they're probably going to have a good record. I mean, I don't know. I think that West B group is probably going to have the wild cards come out because that's just a lot of good teams.
Yeah.
In which the wild cards basically it's going to be the team with the second best record in each group. They're going to take 2 instead of 3, and then they will move on. And then there will be tiebreakers if needed. But a lot of guys were wondering, like Wyatt Hole said, is it going to matter to the players? Like, is this going to matter? And I think a lot of people were saying no at first. One of my favorite podcasts that I, like to watch, the Paul George podcast, he had Klay Thompson on there, and Klay was like, who wouldn't want an extra $500,000 in their pocket? Bragging rights are a huge thing in the NBA. I mean, people may think they're not, but these are grown men out there competing. If they're like, oh yeah, we're the first team to win the in-season tournament, anybody would want to brag about that.
Sure.
And like go ahead.
I mean, Klay Thompson still bragging about his 4 rings.
He did say that was a mistake. He said it was a mistake and he shouldn't have done that. He was in his feelings. But like he said, I mean, $500,000. Yeah, we're all 10 millionaires, but who cares? Like, it's extra money. I mean, that can go towards something that we don't want to spend our own money on.
Right.
I mean, that's vacation money for them.
Yeah.
And then, so I think the incentives are good, and I think it's going to be really competitive, and I can't wait for, I believe it's December 9th when they go to Vegas and play.
I would say it's December 9th. December 5th.
Well, that's the championship game on Saturday, December 9th in Vegas at the T-Mobile Arena. That's going to be a really exciting thing, and eventually maybe Vegas will have a team in there, but
maybe. I mean, Vegas, is probably one of the biggest markets for media, the money, for sports betting and everything like that. It's going to be a celebrity attraction for the tournament. It's going to be a big money generator. And like we said, maybe a future NBA team down the line, who knows? But I just being in Vegas and alone, and I think it either been in Vegas or could have been in New York. I mean,
Madison Square Garden would be
Madison Square Garden needs no introduction. We've seen over the years the legendary moments and legendary moments games that have been played in that city. So I think both are a good option, but Vegas just being out in the wild card, I think it's gonna be a cool area to have it and just a big money generator.
I think it's gonna be great. I'd love to go something like that. I think that'd be a crazy thing to experience.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I'm excited for it to get here. I was a fan of it from the beginning, and I'm thinking I'm convincing you to be a fan of it.
Yeah.
Because I know you're confused on it at first, but I really think it's a good concept, and I think that it's going to be good for the league. It's definitely going to give the league, I feel like, some more exposure. Not that they need it, but the NBA is worth hundreds of billions, and this is going to only bring them more money. And
Absolutely.
More money is going to keep more people watching.
Oh yeah.
So, a lot of changes have happened so far, and the NBA season hasn't even started yet. There's already been a lot of changes. I mean, the Houston Rockets look like a completely different team than last season. You lose Jacob and Josh Christopher. A lot of people don't know who I'm talking about when I say Jacob, but Josh Christopher, I'm pretty sure he got traded to the.
Let's say it was the Grizzlies, yeah.
Yes, and they moved Kenyon Martin.
Moved Kenyon Martin to
to
the
the
Clippers.
And I mean, so right now you have Kevin Porter Jr. and they signed Fred VanVleet to more money than I expected him to get.
Maybe a little bit of a ludicrous deal.
I did not expect him to get that much money. I didn't expect him to go to the Rockets either. I don't know if anybody if somebody bet on that, they hit big because
I fully expected him to re-sign. I'm gonna be honest.
I didn't think he was going to resign. I knew he was going to leave because the Raptors couldn't afford him.
Yeah.
But I expected him to either go to the Lakers because they didn't have the money, but they needed the position.
Right.
And then a lot of people were talking about him going to. I heard a rumor about him going to the Celtics before they traded for Kristaps, and I was like, well, yeah, they could do a sign and trade. But Rockets.
I mean, props to him for going and getting his money.
I mean, yeah, he's an undrafted guy.
Wichita State guy.
Won a ring.
Yep.
I mean, had big moments in that final series.
It's you have an argument that maybe that series is a lot closer if Fred VanVleet didn't hit all the big shots that he did.
I mean, he was hitting some ridiculous threes.
Oh yeah.
High arcing, Jokic looking threes.
Yes.
As a point guard. The Rockets just look so different. They brought on Bulldog Dylan Brooks, and a lot of people like me. I don't like Dylan Brooks. I'm not a fan. I think he's too cocky for what he puts out. I think he's a wannabe Pat Bev. I mean,
I think he makes those games more entertaining.
Yeah, but to a point, entertainment and winning and just enjoying the game of basketball, they don't go together. They don't mesh. Look at the WWE. They're all about entertainment, right?
Yeah.
Nobody cares who. I mean, the diehard fans care who wins those fights, obviously. But somebody watching, they are there for the antics. They are there for all that. Obviously, the NBA needs antics. They need that. They need an aggressor. They need somebody like that. That's why Pat Bev is going to re-sign all these years, but he's going to put pressure on everybody. Dylan Brooks is a nobody.
I mean, he did make a name for himself this year with those antics, and it led to him getting a decent amount of money because more eyes were on him, more eyes were on his defense. His shooting percentage was there.
I mean, yes, he did make second team all defense. I don't agree he should have. Lou Dort, I think, was snubbed in all defense.
Absolutely. Lou Dort should have absolutely been all defense.
I think Shea should have made it all defensive team. He was second, I'm pretty sure, in guards with blocks because Derek White was first. And then I'm pretty sure Shea was also up there in steals. He actually averaged one more steal than Derek White. So, and maybe point something less blocks. So I don't understand how you put Derek White on there and then you can't put Shea on there.
Right.
But Lou Dort was definitely snubbed from the all defensive team. But yeah, Dylan Brooks, I'm just not a fan. I don't know if I ever will be. I know you like Pat Bev, so I can see where you can lean on a guy like this, but I just don't know how much better he makes the Rockets.
I don't know that he makes them that much better. I mean, the reason they probably got so much money is because you got to spend the money because if you don't, you'll lose it in the off season with free agency. So they needed to spend that money on somebody. And if Dylan Brooks has a rebound year, and plays and gives you anywhere from 16 to 19, 20 points a game, it's great because that's trade value for maybe something else down the line. I think the biggest thing for the Rockets is bringing in Ime Udoka. And not that Steven Silas was a bad coach, it's just that the kids, they're legitimate kids. Last year, the Rockets were being one of the youngest teams in the league. They just didn't have any leadership.
Steven Silas is young himself.
Right.
I mean, he's not the youngest coach in the league. That's
the Will Hardy from Jazz.
No, I thought it was the Celtics coach.
I thought it was either Hardy
was the youngest.
Or Mazzulla.
I know Dagnall is also pretty young.
I think Dagnall is just as 38, 39, something like that.
Yeah, I think Mazzulla might be
35, 36, something like that.
I think he's around 36. I know him and the Jazz coach are pretty close.
Yeah.
But, Ime Udoka is a great coach. I mean, yes, the scandal thing, that was probably handled the way it should have been.
Right.
So, with the Rockets, I think he can discipline them. But like I told you the other day, Kevin Porter Jr. is also, kind of a hothead. Yeah, Jazz coach Will Hardy and Celtics, so they're same age. But
this is from last year.
But anyways, I don't think because Kevin Porter Jr. he's a cocky guy himself.
Yes.
He carries himself, on that high horse, like he thinks he is the man. Dylan Brooks, for some reason, thinks he is the man.
Really,
Hasn't really proved himself to be the man, and he's a hothead. We've
Yeah.
seen him. We've seen what he can do. I mean, not what he can do. We've seen him, get mad. We've seen him get ejected. I just don't know how well he's going to gel with developing young guys, because he's also a young guy. He's also developing himself. So I just don't know how well he's going to gel with all those guys.
I think it's like a different situation because sometimes a completely drastic change from team to team and situation to situation, it can be what that person needs, maybe to just for mental reset. And I mean, Dylan Brooks, for all we know, maybe this offseason had a real like sit down with himself, thought about what he can make out of his career and things he can change to be better. But I think Udoka, being the hard nosed bulldog type coach he is, preaching defense, preaching high mannerisms, how to carry, how to teach the kids how to lead themselves, and like Udoka is a leader of men, not just players. So he's a leader of men. He did that with Tatum and Brown. Completely switched their season around when they were struggling. I think the Rockets going to take a bigger step this year than most people think. I think Jalen Green will be way more efficient. Jabari Smith looks, I mean, if you for summer league, looks like he's taking a big, massive sophomore leap. So hopefully that's in the cards for the Rockets this year.
I was gonna say, Dylan Brooks, he wanted to stay in Memphis. This is adding on to what you said. I think the Memphis Grizzlies telling him, "You are absolutely not coming back. We don't want you here," and basically saying you're the reason that everyone sees us as the team that poked LeBron and Moss. I think that's gonna make him sit down and think about what he did. I mean, yeah, he still ended up getting what was it, $80 million contract.
Yeah, 4 years,
Yeah.
$84 million, I think, is what it was.
Yeah, I mean, he still got money, but I definitely think with him being around younger guys and totally new environment for Memphis, like with John Morant in Memphis and that whole thing going on, I think that team in Memphis, they just want to be a bunch of menaces. They just want to be a menace team. That you look at them and be like, dang, they're a bunch of menaces. And I think that's what Dylan Brooks was trying to be. This is an entirely different environment. And also for that Rockets team, I think he's still on there. I don't know if he got moved this industry or this offseason. That's Sengun. I think Sengun's going to be really, really good.
Sengun has looked pretty well in the FIBA
Yes.
games here recently, and he put up good numbers last year.
Yeah.
He made some really good plays. A lot of people say he looks like like a younger Jokic.
He really does.
I mean, he does have the same kind of mannerisms type, but the Rockets team, they weren't last ranked. The Spurs were, right?
Spurs were, yes.
So I think the Rockets probably moving to that play-in stage this year. Maybe like 10th seed.
I think they can. I think at their absolute peak, they can crack 9.
Yeah. The West is just again so stacked that I just don't know.
The West absolutely feasted on itself last year because the Nuggets only had 55, 56 wins last year.
Yeah, I think 56.
Which,
yeah.
I mean, historically, a lot of 1 seed teams can crack 60 wins, but that's just it's kind of weird. 60 to 55 wins doesn't seem like that much of a difference, but it kind of is when you look at it from a whole. But I mean, I think it'll play out differently. They say maybe them growing together, I think will work out a lot better. And Fred VanVleet handling the ball more, taking that maybe KPJ can learn from Fred VanVleet. I think it should be a better situation all around for the Rockets.
This is the last thing I'm gonna say about the Rockets. Jalen Green's just really inconsistent last year. His shooting just isn't that great, isn't where it needs to be a high level guy on that team. But I think Fred VanVleet coming in and taking the role of the shooter will kind of take some pressure off of Jalen Green to where he can become more of a catch and shoot type of guy instead of doing all this stuff off the dribble, which there was times he was making those plays, but sometimes they just weren't the right decision. I think he's trying to do too much.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he needs to move his game to not be just the athletic guy. He needs to He needs to develop more, and I think he probably did this offseason. He probably realizes that he needs to take that next jump because I mean, if you don't, you're just gonna be left behind in this league.
Yeah, it waits for nobody.
I mean, I believe the same thing about John Morant. Honestly, he needs to develop more of a 3-point shot and a jump shot before.
Right.
But I mean, the Rockets, another team in Texas that made a lot of moves. I mean, made not a lot of moves, but look a tad bit different. The Mavericks. You pick up Grant Williams, great defender. He can get you points off the bench. I don't know if he may start. There's a chance. I just don't know if you put him in over Tim Hardaway Jr. Probably not at this point in his career. Kyrie staying is a really big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, top
We know talent-wise, Kyrie
definitely a
gets
top 5 point guard.
absolutely.
You could say, I don't know. You say probably top three. Probably top three.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyrie is that guy. Obviously, he's going to be playing the 2 guard with the Mavericks again, but we never really got to get the full experience with him, Luka. So I think a full season of him and another great point guard in the league is just going to be. I mean, 82 games of them is going to be fun to watch.
Yes.
I mean, we've seen what Kyrie can do alongside guys like LeBron. And in ways, Luka is kind of like LeBron. He always has the ball. He always had the ball in his hands. He was running it. And Kyrie was able to play off of him, and they were able to play off each other. So I think we could get another situation like that. And then they pick up Grant Williams. They get rid of Bertans, which great move.
That's a great move because one of the worst terrible contract.
Oh my gosh. So I'm not happy he came to OKC, but
I mean, it's just I think with the
I
Thunder,
think we'll probably trade him. To be honest.
Yeah, the Thunder. I think because they had money that needed to be taken up in the books.
Yeah.
But something that just got reported today, the Mavericks are cutting JaVale McGee even after they just signed him last free agency year to like a 3-year, $20 million deal. I think is what it was, if I remember right. But they're re-signing Markieff Morris. I mean, both of the Morris twins have always been good role scoring guys.
Been consistent.
Yeah.
When they get their moments, they're always going to go out and compete. Good defenders.
They play hard. I think it was interesting that they didn't even extend an offer to bring back Christian Wood. I know Christian Wood is probably still the best player out in free agency right now. He's been linked to a few different teams. I thought it was really interesting they didn't even try to bring him back just for the athletic and offensive standpoint. Not an amazing defender, but I mean offensively being 6'10" and what he's developed into being a 3-level scorer, I think would have been a third option for when Kyrie and Luka aren't on the floor to take that load.
My beef with Christian Wood isn't that he isn't a good player, because don't get me wrong. I mean, his story and comeback in this league is a great story. It's just I don't know if he didn't gel well with Luka and them, but he just didn't look like himself. He didn't. No. He wasn't a great defender. He was very inconsistent.
It almost had like he had DeAndre Ayton qualities, just not the fire that you want to see.
There was rumors that they were going to extend Christian Wood and they were going to make that trade for DeAndre Ayton and Christian Wood, which I was a fan for that. Not saying I know earlier I said I'm not a big DeAndre Ayton fan, but I think if anybody can turn him around, it's probably Jason Kidd.
Yes.
But who did the Suns just hire? They just hired Frank Vogel.
Frank Vogel.
Frank Vogel is
defensive coach.
I mean, yes, he was the coach when the Lakers won the championship in the bubble, right?
Yes.
But after that, it was just really downhill.
Yeah.
He wasn't really.
Just couldn't figure out. I mean.
He couldn't figure out how to win again, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, and then, like I say, the trade for Russ is an often argument thing, but I mean, it just wasn't right. It didn't work. But I mean, Vogel's been around the league for years. Has always when he's the head coach in Indiana, had great defensive teams. So he's gonna preach defense for the Suns. I think he'd just be a better team chemistry guy.
Obviously the Suns bring in Bradley Beal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, blockbuster trade for what they gave up and got back is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, you give up an aging Chris Paul and your pick. You got two. I'm pretty sure they gave up 2 picks, 2 second-round picks
for Bradley Beal. Yeah.
And
you're getting a 30-point per game quarterback.
I mean, they fleeced the Wizards.
Yeah.
There's no other way to put it. They fleeced the Wizards.
So, but I mean,
but I also think the Wizards were looking to go into complete rebuild, trade their guys, get picks. I think that's what they're doing because Bradley Beal's been there for so long.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, like, but still, for a superstar like Bradley Beal, and you only get that much back, it's unheard of.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the Suns, they bring in a good depth of bench. Eric Gordon, notable name. Yuta Watanabe. They still have Josh Okogie.
He's about to bet T.J. Warren.
Yeah, T.J. Warren, which I think was a good pickup. I really think the Suns probably should have never blew it up in the first place to trade for KD. I think they probably should have left their team how it was. Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges were the heart and soul of that team.
You're right.
I mean,
now they're going to be the heart and soul of a good role playing. Like I said earlier, they remind me so much of that D'Angelo Russell team.
yeah.
Just a bunch of role players who play hard and play to win. Because, whenever you don't have, Mikal Bridges, you can say he's a star, but he's not a superstar.
Yeah.
He's not a guy you look at and be like, he's one of the best players in the NBA. But he's going to go out there and play his hardest no matter what.
Yeah, and then, obviously the Suns, betting numbers wise, on paper, they look like the best team in the NBA. I mean, you can't say they're not.
Right.
But, man, Bradley Beal, D-Book, and Kevin Durant, if you told me 5 years ago they would all be on the same team, I'd call you crazy. I mean, it's just.
You think, how is that even possible?
Like, Devin Booker can score 30 points a night. Kevin Durant can always score 30 points a night. He's done it. I mean, Bradley Beal was the scoring champ, or I don't know if he ended up winning it, but he was in the race to be the scoring champ.
That was the year with Russ, wasn't it? He had his career year.
Yeah, because it's when also Curry was also putting up crazy numbers.
Yeah.
Because him and Curry were in the race for the scoring leader. I mean, he was averaging 32 points a game. So
Yeah.
you're taking 3 superstars and just saying, all right, go hoop. That's literally what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, people thought the Warriors team was stacked. Obviously, KD, Curry, Clay, but D-Book, Brad, and KD, I think would probably be a better big three than Clay, KD, and Curry. Obviously, none of those guys match up to Curry, but they do to Clay.
I think the match, the big cliff like value drop off from that is because Bradley Beal is just that much better than Clay.
And so, at the time.
At the time, yeah.
And
because Kevin Durant was elite 5 years ago, and he's elite 5 years later.
He's elite till he retires.
Right.
I don't think he's going to slow down.
No.
I mean, obviously, he's not athletic. OKC Durant's my favorite Durant to watch. He was athletic. He was dunking on everybody. But now, he's developed his game so much to where he don't have to do that.
Yeah.
He can literally just get the ball in his hands. He's going to score.
Mm-hmm.
So the Suns obviously are going to have a great year. I'm excited to watch. The Celtics obviously made multiple moves. They traded Marcus Smart. What they got back was, I'm pretty sure they got picks back. I believe because Tyus Jones was moved to the Wizards.
And they get it from getting Kristaps.
Yeah, and then they get Kristaps by So Kristaps obviously huge pickup. I mean, that guy can.
I love that trade. As a Celtics fan, I was happy to see that trade, and I was sad to see Marcus Smart go, but I was preaching get rid of Marcus Smart.
I mean, Kristaps, he can get you 25.
Absolutely.
And you bring him in. I mean, basically. He takes. If I'm the Celtics organization, if I'm Joe Mazzulla and you're asking me what's that starting lineup going to be, obviously you're going to have to start Derek White because you don't have, or Malcolm Brogdon, but you need a good point guard. Either one of those is probably a good option.
I think Brogdon is better off the bench.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I'm saying whichever way they went, it's not going to be a bad decision.
No.
And then at shooting guard,
gotta go.
Obviously Jaylen Brown,
JB.
Then Jason Tatum, Kristaps. And if I'm them, I'm not starting Al Horford. I'm starting Rob Williams because
the amount of defense that's
what I'm saying. Because Al Horford, don't get me wrong, he's a good player, but he's a power forward. He's aging.
Yeah.
You're obviously not going to start him over Kristaps.
No.
So
Kristaps kind of just does everything that Al Horford has been able to do in his career, but better.
He's more athletic.
Taller, yeah.
He can probably defend better.
I think Al Horford's just a solid bench player. I mean. Last year, didn't he have the best three-point shooting percentage? I think it was over 50%, which is crazy because that means, say he shoots, statistically saying, shoots 10 threes, he's making 5.
I mean, yeah, Al Horford is a complete player.
Has been the mayor of consistency for his whole career.
But he's not going to play over Kristaps,
No.
Unless you move Kristaps to the 5, which isn't the worst decision just based off because of his height and everything like that. but he's not built to be a 5, which
Right.
5s these days really aren't 5s. I mean, so
It's positionless.
whatever they decide to do with those 3 players, honestly, isn't a bad decision as long as you have Kristaps in that starting lineup.
And I will say, Robert Williams this offseason, his main focus is developing a shot. Because I mean, he's over the years hasn't not been the best shooter, but he is making sure he is able to be used in the offensive game besides just a lot.
Yeah, and he's a great defender, one of the best
Rob's
defending bigs in the
been one of
league.
the best defenders.
Consistent defender. Doesn't matter if it's perimeter or inside. He can make an impact. So I expect the Celtics. I think this may be their year to return to the finals. I mean, they have all the pieces to do it, and they don't do it.
It's kind of like, what are you going to do at that
It's a
point?
legacy thing at that point. With
Yeah.
Celtics and Jason Tatum and Jalen, because I mean, how many years have you had good teams to do this?
Yeah. Since basically both of their rookie years.
Yeah.
I think Jalen this offseason he needs to work on his ball handling.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's a
If,
given.
if we are going to pay you $300 million, you need to be able to use your left hand. You need to be able to dribble, and in moments we need to be able to rely on you to keep the ball in possession and not have. How many turnovers did he have against the Heat?
8,
7, 8.
I'm pretty sure it was 8.
Most of those we just dribbled off his left, just dribbled off his
He
foot.
drove off his foot, or get picked from behind,
Yep.
or
It was unreal. You don't know how angry I was watching that game.
can't tell you how happy I was watching that game.
Just to watch a player who I've been saying is a superstar, and that he needs more recognition, and that he has proven that he can dribble, just completely just underperform. Just get the ball stripped, dribble it off.
Let me ask you this question: 5-year projection. Who would you rather have, Desmond Bain or Jaylen Brown? 5-year
projection. I'm probably
because JB's 26, 25, 26, and Bain is like 20, 22, 23 right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll still say Jaylen Brown, but I mean, when did he get drafted?
2017. Because he
I
was
thought it was 2016.
2016. He was a year before. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He has had coming on 7-8 years to dribble, because you've said it multiple times. Whenever he came in, his dribbling was terrible.
Oh, it was some of the worst I've ever seen for a shooting guard.
Which is interesting because he's one of the best mid-range scorers in the league. So it's like, how do you get your spot being being a poor, below average ball handler?
And he can slash like crazy. I think Jaylen Brown is one of the most underrated people for just being.
And he's super athletic. Like that guy, I remember his third year in the league was dunking on everybody. I mean,
he's still doing it.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, I feel like his third, fourth year in the league was some of the best basketball I've seen Jaylen Brown play. I mean, now it's kind of just getting to the point where I'm like, is that your ceiling? Are you at your peak?
Right.
But obviously, you don't think so. He can only get better from here.
Yeah.
I mean, in the finals he performed because JT he didn't show up. According to him, he had a fracture in his wrist, and Jaylen Brown, he stepped up. He said, "I will do my best to win these games," and he played good. But this playoffs was just so underwhelming for him. Like I watched the playoff games as much as I could, and Jaylen Brown was underwhelming to me. I think Derek White performed outstanding this run through the playoffs. For someone who wasn't our main point guard because that was Marcus Smart, he performed amazing. I'm happy that we are gonna have him, and I hope that we re-sign him because he is super underrated. He can play make. He can shoot like crazy. He has such a good shot. I love Derek White, but I think Jalen needs to work on his left hand for us to keep him for $300 million.
I mean, yeah, the Celtics, like I said, this year is a proving point for them. They have every piece in the world to make this happen.
Yeah.
I probably put them where I say about the Clippers. This might be because I think this is the last year for PG and Kawhi to make something happen. Healthy, they are one of the best teams in the league. Top 3 team in the league, in my opinion, healthy. Nobody's stopping them.
Yeah.
Same thing with the Celtics in the East. I mean, this may be the last year for Jalen and Jason together on the Celtics to prove whether or not they should keep it together.
I mean, I don't know with the contracts they just signed. They both just signed Supermax. I think JT's was a Supermax extension though. Wasn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an extension.
It's an extension, yeah.
But the thing is, like, there'll be people that put packages together to take them though. Because when the Celtics want to rebuild, they'll rebuild. They've done it before. I mean, we've seen what happened after the KG and Paul Pierce days. I mean, they got rid of everything, and those picks turned into Jason and Jalen.
Yeah, Danny Ainge wasn't afraid to say blow it up, restart.
And I don't think Brad Stevens is either.
No.
Brad Stevens, I love that guy.
He's brilliant.
Yeah.
I think he's one of the smartest GMs in the league, behind Sam Presti.
Sam Presti's a great GM.
Do you think Brad Stevens will ever go back to coaching? Or just take
I
on?
wish he would.
Or just
I
stay
wish
as a
he
GM?
would. It's crazy that he quit coaching so early.
Yeah,
He's is he the youngest GM?
you gotta be one of.
One of yeah, probably.
I think he's still sub 40 years old.
Yeah, I think it's like 43.
Yeah.
But with the Celtics, like I said, I think this may be maybe one of the last rides for Jason and Jalen before they start just
Having real like soul searcher moments.
yeah. But you think back, like, let's see. I mean, the Wizards, they get Jordan Poole from the CP3 deal. I mean,
They re-signed Kyle Kuzma.
I thought he was leaving. I mean, if I'm him, I'm getting out. I mean, he already has his ring and everything. But the thing is, I mean, maybe not, because if I'm Kyle Kuzma, I got my ring. I'm bag chasing at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, what else do you need to prove?
If you were Kyle Kuzma last year, you had your career year scoring wise. What would you have left? And if you had left, where would you have wanted to go?
Oh, I mean, Kyle Kuzma going anywhere would be an upgrade. I mean,
the first team that comes to my mind, would have been either Miami or New York.
Man, Miami would be insane for him to go to, but for a young guy like him, can you imagine him playing in OKC? I mean,
that too.
Yeah, they had the money to do it.
Do you think he would have? Okay, so in that question,
because he's technically listed like a small forward, power forward. For the
do you think he would have started at the 4 or would have taken over Dort's spot?
So
would you rather have Kyle Kuzma or would you rather have Josh Giddey?
I'm still gonna say I'm keeping Josh Giddey just because some of the things Josh Giddey does, Kyle Kuzma doesn't do.
Right.
And they're different positions, obviously. So I think at that point, Dort would probably be like, I can come off the bench. I mean, we signed freaking Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna make a run. Let's do it.
I think Dort knows what he is.
I mean, yeah. But so I mean, that's a lineup of Shea, Giddey, Kyle Kuzma, Chet, and Jalen Williams.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could even put Jalen Williams on the bench. And I think that's the thing between him and Dort. But me personally, I'd rather have Jalen Williams in the starting lineup than Dort.
You think J Dub would start over J Will?
I think he would.
J Will I don't think
he's really raw.
Yeah, but I think his starting days are probably over for the Thunder at this point.
I mean, we still don't. I mean, who knows what you can do with a sophomore year?
Yeah, I mean, he looked really good in summer league.
Yes.
But like the Wizards picking up Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole's probably gonna have a career year this year.
Oh, no question.
No doubt about it.
He's gonna be the guy.
If you ask Andre Iguodala, he's gonna average 30. If he's in the stands, he's gonna average 40. So that's Chocolate City.
Chocolate City.
But I'm really excited to see what him and Kuzma can do. Who knows? They could be a playing team for all we know. I mean, you just never know in this league.
And then, I mean, you still have in the Wizards, you still got Monte Morris, solid point guard. Still got.
And you add Ty Jones.
Tyus Jones. You got Daniel Gafford's one of the most underrated centers in the league.
Got destroyed by Kevin Durant.
He did. So we got Corey Kispert, sniper. We still don't know what Johnny Davis is going to be from Wisconsin.
Davis, man, he
did not have a very good. Yeah, was pretty bad his rookie year.
I don't hear anybody talk about him anymore.
I mean, he was at one point was demoted to the G League team.
He's not
during the season.
He really did not play good last year. I
mean,
his one highlight was like an up and under layup that he had, and everybody was like, "Oh, Johnny Davis." And after that, I was like,
because
what happened to Johnny Davis?
Then they lost, and the Wizards. I mean, they lost Will Barton. Will Barton's been solid his whole career, but I mean,
I'm a big Will Barton fan.
I mean, who knows? I mean, with like we say, with how top heavy the East is, and how thin the mid to lower tier
I mean,
echelon
8 to
teams.
10 in the East is really just like, or honestly 7 to 10. Those playing teams in the East are really a toss up at this point.
So I mean, like, would you rather? Do you think like would you rather have what Indiana has right now, or would you rather be in the Wizard spot?
So the only thing different I would say is the Pacers probably have obviously more talent, more NBA ready guys on the roster.
Yeah,
But if I'm the Wizards, I feel like I'm honestly putting myself back in the same position I was when Bradley Beal and John Wall were young. I mean,
yeah,
you got two guys that can play really well together with Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma. Once they develop, which Kuzma's obviously developed, but he's obviously just keep getting better. Then Jordan Poole is going to keep getting better. But after that, what do you do? Do you continue wasting their careers like Brad and John, or what do you? I mean, you actually going to build around them? Do they learn from their mistakes?
right. I think one
And
of
how
my
much can you really build around those guys in today's league?
I think if they fail this year, like say Kyle and Jordan have really good statistical years, and they still ended up with if they somehow get with the number one overall pick. I mean, if anybody has watched AAU basketball this
Ron
last
Holland.
summer, we all know who we want to be the number one overall pick, and that is a young man named Cooper Flag.
Cooper Flag he won't be in this draft.
He won't be.
No, he'll be in the next year's draft.
Next
He
year's?
reclassed. Yeah, he'll be in the 25 draft. He was going to be in the 26, but he reclassed.
I thought he went
I
from
thought it said
25 to 24.
Yeah, he's going to graduate like high school in 24. That's what they mean by class of 24.
Right.
So yeah, he'll be.
Oh,
so
okay.
he
I
can't be
totally
drafted straight out of high
misunderstood.
school, unless he
That's
goes to
my
G
fault.
League. Nah, next year the projected number one pick is either Ron Holland or Matos.
Oh, Matos.
Which
Imagine if they Matos
oh
on
my
that team.
gosh, Matos is ridiculous.
Right.
He's a very like well-spoken young man, and like he already seems like he's ready to be ready NBA ready at this point. Like
Yes.
he listened to him on the JJ Redick podcast. Great episode, But Matos and Ron Holland, they're the projected number one picks. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And then obviously it's Bronny's class. We don't know what his future holds.
Who knows what Mikey Williams could do if something that if he was able to save himself.
Nah, I think they haven't said anything. Memphis hasn't said anything about it at all. So
He still has his commitments.
as far as we know, he's going to get out of it most likely.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Wizards, their future is bright. They got a bunch of picks now.
Yes.
I mean, definitely not on the level of Thunder picks.
No.
But
And they got cap space.
yeah, and the Thunder also, not really made a lot. I mean, they made a lot of offseason moves. Obviously, bring in Bertans, but he's going to get cut or traded. They bring in the overseas guy.
I can't remember.
It's hard, his name's hard to say, but he was the EuroLeague MVP a couple years ago, Finals MVP of the EuroLeague a couple years ago. He's like a 28-year-old point guard that drafted and stashed for a long time, and they now believe he's NBA ready. And I'm excited to see that guy play because Thunder really needed a backup point guard last year.
Yeah.
I mean, off the bench we had Trey Mann, Isaiah Joe, but towards the peak of the season, Trey Mann wasn't getting those minutes, but Summer League Trey Mann looked like a completely different version of that we've seen.
Right.
And J-Dub, he's jacked now, first of all, and he looks 10 times better than he was last year. And last year he was he was averaging 12 points a game.
He's one of the most athletic rookies I've seen in a while.
Oh yeah.
He can catch it.
His arm size for his frame is ridiculous.
Yeah.
He can jump out the game. I'm gonna just say it. He has one of the best vertical guns.
And then Shea obviously had an MVP season last year. Dort could be a defensive player of the year one of these years.
We had the opportunity to go watch the Blazers and the Thunder play, and we watched Lou Dort put Damian Lillard in what do they call it?
The torture chamber.
The torture chamber. Like it was so easy for Dort to lock up Dame of all people. Dame's one of the best one-on-one players we've ever seen.
I mean, Kawhi got put in the torture chamber too.
Right. It's so funny to see what Dort can do to these guys.
Like he could be a defensive player of the year one of these years. I mean, if he ever leaves the Thunder, he's gonna get a bag. I mean,
You want to know what he reminds me of? He reminds me of a better offensive Tony Allen.
Yeah, I could see that. Definitely could see that. I mean, he's like an evolved Tony Allen. Tony Allen in today's game. Maybe just not as gritty probably.
I don't know. He's a little undersized and he plays bigger than what he is.
Yeah, but Tony Allen was just different. I mean,
Tony didn't care if he scored 100 times.
I mean, so you say so. put Lou Dort and Tony Allen. I mean, Tony Allen was locking up Kobe some nights. I don't
Yeah.
think Dort's on that level yet,
Maybe not.
Not yet.
but he can be.
Oh,
And Chet coming back, we don't. I mean, he looked good in summer league. He looked
Yeah.
real good. I
He
mean,
looks like he's gained weight.
he
put
put
on a
on.
lot
I
of
think they said 9 to 10 pounds or
Yeah.
something like that, and he's probably continuing to put on more. I mean,
That probably puts him at what, like 201,
I'm pretty sure they
205,
say he's at 205
205.
or 208. I think that's what it was.
Yeah,
it was
it was
13 pounds. He put on 13
That
pounds.
was close to 2
Yeah. So everybody's like, his weight.
I was
Like,
one of those people.
He was,
Still
but still are. But, a 7-foot frame like that, he's not gonna look like Shaq. I mean,
No.
Shaq, that's genetics.
You're 7 foot, it's like 7'2", 330.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, look at how Giannis looked whenever he came into the league.
that's true. Giannis was $190 when he came in the league.
Do you think Shaq can have that glow up?
He can.
I mean,
I
obviously he
think-
can,
Because a lot of that's genetics.
but with his game, I don't think he needs it.
Yeah.
Probably
Because
not.
that guy, he's a tall, athletic 7-footer. He can block shots. He can lob threat. He can shoot. He can ISO. He really reminds me of just Kevin Durant. Like, obviously, that's his comparison.
He's been
all the
playing pickup
time.
with Kevin Durant.
Exactly. And Trae Young, like him and Trae Young look really good together. So I can only imagine how good him and Shea are going to look together. Because Trae Young's a really good passing point guard, obviously.
Yeah.
And Shea, he's improved his pass. Josh Giddey, a really good passing point guard. So, I'm excited to see what the future holds for the Thunder. And, Kason looked really, really good in Summer League. I was like, I thought we were going to pick Derek Lively because
Really wanted Derek Lively, man.
he sucked in Summer League.
I know. I really wanted him though.
Oh, also add that to the Mavs. They picked up Derek Lively, but I just don't think it's going to pan out really.
Who knows? I mean,
Based off Summer League,
right.
but we never know what's going to happen in the future, obviously.
I mean, look at what Anthony Bennett did.
And they've been look crazy in Summer League. But he was dropping everybody off. But obviously we know how that went. Didn't score in his first 8 games in the NBA. But back to the Thunder. Chet's it's gonna bring a whole different look to OKC, a whole different, I think it's gonna be a fun year, and I'm ready to see some games and see what the future just holds for the Thunder. Like Wyatt said, they're not gonna play in team. I think they are a playoff team. They're a top 6 team in the league at this point. I think
Really?
they were about to crack top 5 last year.
That's a big jump, man.
A big jump for about to crack top 5 to cracking top
Right,
5.
but I'm just saying because we know it's where we know how tight and competitive the West is, but there's still levels to
There is levels to it, and I think Shea and obviously Shea he could just stay the same as he was last year, and he's going to be just as good.
He dropped 33 and 9.
Like Shea could literally just not improve at all anymore, and he would still be he would still be a superstar.
He'll still be
But
in the
Josh
league.
Giddey still going to improve. Chet still going to improve. I mean, you got to think the Thunder are leveling up every year with
Right.
experience.
Just think about how good they were last year, but also everything that they had to go through last year. Their star rookies. Someone that people said he's gonna win Rookie of the Year didn't even get to play a single game.
I'm ready to watch him and Wemby battle.
Yeah.
I'm ready for that experience.
Also, both of Jalen Williams. That was only their rookie year, and they both looked good. I mean, J-Dub obviously looked better, but they both looked really good.
Lou Dort's going to keep improving. Josh Giddey's going to keep improving. I just got high hopes for the Thunder team, and I'm hoping they can take it to the next
it would
level.
almost be to the point where all these guys are up and coming so much that Shea's numbers should take a dip this year
They should.
because of how much better the team should be.
But the thing is, I don't think they will.
No, I don't
He's
either.
so good of a player that he could
Yeah.
probably average more last year, or he could average more this year than he did last year.
I think he's gonna honestly either average more or stay the same. I think everyone else is gonna go up. I think
Yeah.
that's how they're gonna get better. Shea isn't gonna go down. He's gonna stay at that level or get bigger, and everyone else is just gonna
They're going to catch
build.
up.
They're gonna go and build around up until the point where I'll say it. I think at some point the Thunder could have 3 superstars on the team at one time.
I mean, they could. It's just all about, the same situation they were in when Russ, Katie, and Harden were there. It's paying them. But with the new CBA and everything like that, paying these guys and having them on the team together is going to be so much easier than it ever was. I mean,
So let me ask you this.
because look, Shea's contract isn't even a big contract right now.
Right. I keep saying this.
That's the best deal that might have ever been signed with a superstar player. But he
When
wasn't
they-
a superstar at the
Yeah,
time.
just because when they signed him, they said, okay, we're basically getting him for free for what he
Yeah.
was at the time. So now, like,
He was like a 20, 24, 25 point per game score at the time.
right,
2 years later,
34, almost 34
MVP
points.
caliber
Yeah,
player. Yeah. So
And I will say this isn't entirely like that Harden scenario. I think Sam Presti is super super smart. I think he'll play his cards right.
I mean, they're not. I think they learn from their mistakes. You know, it's Harden's situation was just a bad deal all around. And I think no matter what, if we kept him, obviously.
you lost Serge. You probably would have.
Well, the thing was like he wanted the max.
Yeah.
And then they gave Serge his money.
Yeah.
Harden wanted like $5 million more, whatever it was. The Thunder ended up like giving Kendrick Perkins the money anyways.
Yeah.
So they still spent the money. Like that extra $5 million was still spent. It just wasn't on James Harden. So
Yeah.
you know, in the end, yeah, it was a bad deal all around. But if we keep James Harden, who knows if we have this fun young Thunder team now? Obviously.
Yeah.
So obviously championships then would have been fun to watch. But I'm ready to watch this new team compete and stuff like that. So I think it all worked out for the better. But you know, another team in the West that looks a little different with the Warriors. CP3, you know, obviously aging, probably on his way out of the league at this point, but not to the point to where it's like mediocre.
No, I still think Chris Paul. You got to give respect to Chris Paul.
Yeah.
He can still light you up any night.
He's still one of the best point guards in the league, but Steph Curry could be the in-season tournament MVP because I mean, just him and Chris Paul playing together, I think is going to give him so many more looks. You know, Klay Thompson even said like getting him those looks is going to be so much easier because he's going to have one of the best passers of all time feeding him the ball.
And I will like to say that this is going to be first time and probably Curry's whole career that he's not going to have to be a point guard and that the Warriors are finally going to have a pure point guard. So they're going to play way differently than they have been these past years. I mean, these past years they have won. So I don't know. I mean, if they ain't broke, going to fix it.
I mean, yeah, I just think Chris Paul is going to fit really well in this Warrior system.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this system is probably built for Chris Paul, honestly, because they run around, he passes.
Yeah.
And like you said, they still have to respect him. You still have to respect Chris Paul, even though he's 38.
Yeah.
But I think it's gonna be a good year for the Warriors, and I think they're gonna figure it out. And, Draymond, him and Chris Paul have their beef, but he always said they can be man to man, they can smash it, they can figure it out, they can move on, right?
Yeah.
So I think they're both, mature enough to move on and figure it out.
I think something that's going to really help the Warriors is that they can play either really fast, they can play slow. Like with last year, Steph and Clay were in the game, they played faster. Chris Paul, like when Chris Paul was on the Suns last year, they statistically played slower. They're more methodical, but so they can switch the pace up if they need to. They can really shoot. They can dictate the game however they want because they shoot so many threes.
Yeah.
It seems like nowadays it's not a dunk that makes you take a timeout. It's a three.
Well, yeah, it's those. It's always looked like the same three too. It's always that transition three after a big run. It's like, oh, timeout. I'm just like, what? It's
right.
the same thing every time.
Right, because Chris Paul could be throwing those passes, making it that much easier. Like, you imagine all the stagger options they're gonna run, staggers and.
I mean, they could bring back their elevator options.
They really could. They with
have Kevon and Draymond just setting the screens. And
brick wall screens, yes.
But
Steph and Clay gonna get their cardio in.
Oh yeah, I think Clay's
Steph
already gets his cardio.
I think Clay's gonna have just phenomenal season this year.
I do too.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fun to watch.
Honestly, I think it's gonna be Clay's make or break season. He's either gonna perform really well or he's gonna underperform.
I think that's the whole Warriors team. That's gonna it's either gonna be here, or it's gonna be here. There's no in between.
I think Curry's gonna thrive either way.
Oh, he's Curry. He's Curry.
The greatest shooter ever.
But the Lakers, so many offseason moves made. I mean, you bring in Gabe Vincent, just went on a finals run. You bring in Jackson Hayes, so athletic, young guy. You can just do some damage off the bench. Damage the Thunder a lot in that when they beat the Thunder in the regular season. I'm pretty sure you were at that game.
I was.
I mean, still down to the wire, but Jackson Hayes just
has his hands everywhere.
I mean, that guy is so athletic. I mean, he's jumping out the gym.
Being that tall, there's no that's like one-of-one athleticism.
Yeah. And then they Cam Reddish, a guy we love. I mean, probably the most non-superstar that gets talked about between us is Cam Reddish. Like, high school, college, everything. That guy shows flashes of being a star.
Yes.
And Portland, New York was just a really bad place for him to be.
Yeah.
Under Thibodeau, not a big Tibbs fan,
No.
never have been, but Tibbs didn't use him the right way, and when he did, it was kind of in garbage minutes. Nobody really cared. He had to come back, try a minor comeback with the Trailblazers. Didn't really pan out.
Had some decent moments.
Yeah, but I'm really excited to see what he can do under Darvin Ham, how he develops. I really want him to come to OKC.
Yeah.
Mark D could develop the hell out of that guy. But
I think something with the Lakers with Reddish is they know who the starting lineup will be. It'll be D'Lo, Reeves, Braun. I guess they kind of AD, and then they could start AD at the center if they want, and they probably have to pick up someone from free agency or someone. Maybe they don't know the starting lineup yet.
I doubt they do.
I don't know that they would want. If it was me, I wouldn't want Hayes to start because Hayes is young and can carry the stamina.
Yeah, even
they could stagger minutes.
And really against big teams, he wasn't getting that much minutes in the Pelicans.
Right. Granted, I guess they have Jonas. They had Jonas.
Yeah.
Who
great guy,
did everything.
Great player, really underrated center in this league.
You can shoot threes now.
Yeah. So the Lakers, big turnaround last year. They start out 2-10 on the season.
Yeah.
Nobody expects them to do anything. They had to win like 21 out of 24 games to even make the play-in.
And they did that.
And yeah, they did it. And somehow they pulled it off. Russ being there, him and LeBron didn't gel. Not on a personal level because they're really good friends outside of the NBA.
It was a system thing.
Yeah, you
it's
can't
all X's and O's.
You can't put Russ in the corner. You can't put Braun in the corner. So at that point, you have to make a decision. Well, we're not going to bench Braun, and you can't bench Russ. They did, and it worked for a little bit, but it caused turmoil, and but the thing with the Lakers is it wasn't the Lakers, it was the media try to ruin Russ and say how bad of a teammate he was for the Lakers, and he drained them. I think what was the word they used?
Vampire.
Yeah, vampire cancer to the locker room.
We've had now that he has seen these interviews. Reeves said
so many interviews.
It's saying that he how Reeves or Russ is one of the best teammates Reeves has ever had.
We had him say that, Pat Bev say that.
And LeBron say something about
Russ. Well, him and LeBron have been friends for
because
forever.
Braun knows what type of competitor Russ is.
Yeah, and Russ being from LA, they were always together. Actually, Russ, CP3, and Braun used to hang out every summer at LeBron's house.
Yeah,
they would have wine tasting and stuff like that. So, that's why everybody thought probably the team was going to work out.
Yeah,
but on a basketball standard, an NBA standard, it just didn't work.
Right.
It's nothing against the players.
No,
they're phenomenal players.
Russ still has assist and rebound numbers, but just the scoring.
Russ will never. You will never find a night where Russ does not play his heart.
Oh no! Russ probably had his best defensive season ever last year.
Probably.
And some of those defensive plays are the reason they won games. That one against the Bucks when he chased down that loose ball on Chris Middleton.
Yeah.
Tipped it back. I'm pretty sure Braun got a dunk off of it or got fouled or something.
And then blocking D-Book and then throwing it off of him.
Oh, that's crazy instinct.
Yeah.
And crazy reaction time, and
that's not something that you can just.
You can't coach that.
You can't teach it.
Have that. You have to have that dog mentality, and I think Russ does have that dog mentality, but. A big thing about the NBA nowadays is mental health, and I'm surprised that we didn't see Russ just absolutely crumble under all of the pressure from the media. He still stayed positive and still
he smiled through it all,
and was still a great teammate to those young guys.
Yeah, so Russ, he's figured out the Clippers. Obviously, they know his place, they know his role. He fits that system well. Now Lakers. They had a really good playoff run last year, Western Conference Finals. Obviously the Nuggets, that did not go well for them. D'Lo really didn't play well. They bring back Rui also on a good contract. Austin Reeves is playing the best basketball of his career right now. Y'all debate all the time, Derek White, Austin Reeves, who would you rather have? Has that point changed for you, or are you still on team Derek White, or is it kind of it's a toss-up or what? Because for me, and I know you've been saying Austin Reeves, obviously, but I'd personally rather have Austin Reeves and Derek White at this point.
I love Derek White. I said it earlier. I'm very biased towards my Celtics players. And if I'm like talking about on the Celtics, who would I rather have? I'd rather have Derek White on the Celtics.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying, as a player, who would you rather have? Talent wise, everything wise, I'm really saying I'd rather have Austin Reeves.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't think Derek White can do the things Austin Reeves can do, but Austin Reeves can do everything that Derek White does.
yeah, that's a good point, but I also see Derek White as more of a playmaking point guard, more than I see Austin Reeves.
I don't know because when Braun was out for those when he had his foot injury last year, Reeves one of the biggest reasons they even stayed afloat.
I mean, I can see the comparisons, obviously. I
Yeah.
mean, they both
They're
were
very
basically in the
similar.
same role, like off the bench point guard, would get some starting here and there,
Hit shots.
hit big shots, make big plays on the defensive end. But I'm personally going to take Reeves, but because I don't think Derek White can do what Reeves is doing in the FIBA Cup right now.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Derek White's going to drop 33 points in the FIBA World Cup game. He's not going to make those same impact plays. I don't think Derek White's probably even respected as much as Austin Reeves is right now in the league. And Derek White got a bald head, so.
No. Bald head Derek White might be the GOAT. We don't know.
I mean,
Cut that one out of the video.
I mean, his hair was bad before, but now it gotta look bad.
Hey, either way, he sent us to a game 7.
That's true.
He did do that.
So,
We watched that game live. We were like, "What?" I know. It was like heart crushing.
That was heart crushing.
I'm just saying, some Miami fans had a stroke
I was
when they went to review and you saw that Derek White got that off, or like, and in Miami too.
Yeah, that was crazy.
I'm sure you guys in the stands were sitting there 2 hours afterwards, like, what just happened?
If I wasn't at a friend's house, I would have broken my TV watching Jaylen Brown turn the ball over so many times. That's what was heart crushing.
Yeah, and you look like the NBA season this year is just gonna be so great. Like so many, like that draft class was spectacular. I mean,
Thompson twins.
Obviously,
Scoot.
I mean, yeah, Scoot, Brandon, Kason, Jerace. I mean,
Amani Bates.
Keontae George. I wish Amani would came to OKC.
And I'm ready to see what Brandon Miller will do for the Hornets under the teaching of Miles Bridges. I mean, I think Miles Bridges is more of a lob threat. I'll say that.
Well, Miles Bridges is like power forward, small forward, and Brandon Miller is like a shooting guard, small forward. But I do think there are things Miles Bridges obviously just came off a big like off the court scandal type thing. He can definitely give insight on like, hey, as an NBA player to be professional, stuff like that. And then also from a basketball standpoint, I just think he can learn from everybody on the Hornets. I mean, even though Jordan's not the owner anymore, I guarantee he's gonna stick around. I mean, I guarantee he's gonna be there to mentor Brandon Miller and stuff like that. I mean, who else would you want mentoring you besides arguably the greatest basketball player of all time?
Did he pick Brandon Miller, or was that someone?
It was his last.
It was his last decision. Yeah,
and I think he's gonna teach him some good things about how to do. I mean, he looked good in summer league. I mean, he had games where he wasn't the best, but I mean,
he's gonna pan out. I believe he will. And I mean, if you're everybody was booing, picking Brandon Miller. If you're the Hornets, I mean, are you picking Scoot Henderson or are you taking Brandon Miller? I think not based off who's better, but just who fits that system the best.
It's absolutely Brandon Miller.
I mean, no doubt.
It would have been different if Scoot was an elite shooter, like already had a really good shot. I think Scoot. Then the argument for Scoot. Or if
LaMelo was already like a 45, 47% shooter.
Yeah.
Because you got to move somebody to two guard.
Yeah.
Because you're not bringing Scoot off the bench. You're not bringing LaMelo off the bench.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with Dame and Scoot. Dame is an elite shooter, so
that kind of masks.
Yeah, Scoot. It goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
The things that Dame does, Scoot just does better, and the things that Scoot can just do, Dame does better. Because like athletically, Scoot's just gifted.
Scoot's a linebacker in a point guard's build.
That build is insane. But the Hornets, Gordon Hayward, LaMelo kind of gets him back to his old form because he gets more open shots, he rim runs more, and then losing Kelly Oubre probably isn't as big a deal as people think because Brandon Miller could literally just be
That
Kelly Oubre.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean Brandon Miller has one of the craziest high school dunks I've ever seen, where he literally clears a guy and dunks it down. I'm just like you're 6'8" and you're doing that, like that's crazy.
Yeah.
He was good at Alabama.
Oh yeah, I mean
SEC
top
Player of the
in
Year.
yeah, SEC Player of the Year for a reason. And then Kai Jones, athletic center. I mean, that guy put a beating on OKC when they played. And there's literally Kai Jones Day is what Charlotte calls it.
Eric Collins.
Yeah, that answer's crazy.
I have love him, but
Hum diddly dee.
Diddly dum
so
diddly dee.
I think the Hornets can surprise people, but only if Gordon Hayward he keeps improving. Because ever since he broke his ankle, he wasn't the same. But I've seen him improve year in year out. LaMelo, he needs to get his ankle problems under control. I mean, I think it could be something with their genetics because his brother. It's very sad to see what's happening to Lonzo Ball right now. It's terrible to see.
But the Hornets, they're a young team. I think they're gonna be a playing team this year if all works out. Obviously, Miles is gonna miss the first 10 games of the season, still pending his suspension.
Still got Mark Williams.
Yeah, I mean Mark Williams, steal of the draft. Honestly, I mean the past draft because
And even like the guy that was starting for them, Nick Richards, has become really solid for them too. Just signed an extension with them.
yeah, the Hornets are just a really young, talented team, and Gordon Hayward's a good vet for them to have. I think can really just show them what needs to be done on and off the court. Good guy. So
Everybody loves Gordon Hayward.
yeah, so I think the Hornets can surprise a lot of people. And in the future, obviously, they're going to be a top team in the league, I believe. I mean,
The future is very bright.
this NBA future is probably the brightest it's been in years.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, after the Jordan era, it was like pretty stagnant. I mean, Kobe, obviously, and Shaq, that was like, wow, like, what are we even witnessing? And then after that, you get Braun. And then, those years between Braun and, Kevin Durant being drafted, the drafts were pretty,
weren't amazing.
I mean, one of the years, they're just really, I mean, the early 2000s draft, mid 2000s draft, they weren't that great. I mean, obviously those players, obviously, classic players and, idolized. But at the time, it was like, wow, these draft classes compared to now, like
Because there wasn't anybody that was generational.
Yeah. I mean, now I feel like you get a generational player every draft. I mean,
yeah.
Like I know we've talked about it like before, but Cooper Flag, I think that's one of the brightest futures I've seen in a while. I mean, he's went in the Peach Jam, and I'm gonna say he single-handedly beat the Booth.
I mean, there's Cooper Flag may be the first person to reclass and be successful with it.
Yeah.
Because Amani wasn't.
Yeah, Amani went too fast.
I mean, in high school he was a
demon.
Yeah, I mean, but he probably should have stayed another year and figured it out. But I'm really excited for the upcoming season. I'm excited for everything basically that this year is going to bring, the in-season tournament, everything like that.
More topics to discuss.
I mean, yeah, I'm ready to talk about this whole season. I'm ready to watch games. I'm really excited. We thought the 75th anniversary season was like here.
Yeah.
But, I mean, all the new faces on teams this season, and you got Victor, you got Scoot, the Twins. Yeah. I mean, there's not a team that isn't going to be interesting to watch this year. You got Cade Cunningham coming back this year.
Yes.
Super excited for that. Man, I hope he gets out of Detroit one of these days. But
we get to see how Marcus Smart's going to work out on the Grizzlies.
Yeah, and Derrick.
2 DPOYs.
The thing is, Derrick Rose is probably going to get minutes this year on the Grizzlies until Ja comes back because he is their backup point guard.
And he can prove I'm not what I was when I first came in. I might be a little bit old, but I can still do it.
Yeah, I mean, there is literally not a team that's not going to be interesting to watch this year. Like each team has something to prove. Every superstar has something to prove. I'm really excited to get it for it to start. Like it cannot get here any faster.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited for our future episodes.
I mean, yeah, it's gonna be great. We got the new setup, new everything. This is literally nothing like we were before.
No.
So
and we're gonna improve our equipment.
Yeah, it's only gonna get better from here. And I'm really excited to see what the future holds for this podcast and the NBA. And for our first episode back, this is great.
Yep.
Y'all guys were great. So
I am gonna miss you. You're going on vacation soon. I'm gonna miss you.
we are gonna miss you on the next episode. But I think Wyatt can hold it down for us.
I'll do my best.
But the crew. This is Wyatt Olson, Wyatt Hole. I'm Connor Black. Thank y'all for tuning in. It's the Foul Line.